Hi, PerspectiveWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday, April 28th. A significant rain event is increasingly likely for the Mid-Atlantic region, the Northeast U.S., primarily focused on the day Thursday. The rain could begin late Wednesday night and continue into Thursday night, but really the potential for the heaviest rainfall may be midday afternoon on Thursday into Thursday evening. We have a combination of factors here that lead to the possibility of this significant rain event later this week. First of all, there will be a increasingly strong fetch of air coming up along the Atlantic seaboard from the Gulf of Mexico, the southwestern part of the Atlantic. That'll feed in some very humid air right up along the eastern seaboard by the time we get to Thursday. Meanwhile, a strong low pressure area aided by vigorous energy aloft will slide northeast towards the Great Lakes region on Wednesday, and it'll have a trailing cold front that will only edge its way eastward through the Mid-Atlantic region to the eastern seaboard during the day on Thursday. The slow movement of that frontal system combined with very moist air ahead of it and vigorous energy in the upper part of the atmosphere will lead to the possibility of that significant rain event, maybe even some localized flooding conditions. Again, late Wednesday night, all day Thursday into Thursday night, and we'll talk about that, focus in on that threat over the next few minutes. Before we talk about that, though, I wanted to kind of look longer term here once again at the likelihood for additional cold air outbreaks to come from Canada into the central and eastern U.S., not only through the end of April, but looks like right into at least the middle part of the month of May. Let's take a look again at the ensemble run of the GFS from 0Z last night. We're looking at 850 millibar temperature anomalies averaged out over 5-day period. So this is a rolling 5-day average here of 850 millibar temperature anomalies. We'll go from the current 5-day period all the way to the middle of May. And all the blue on here represents colder than normal conditions. Again, averaged out for that 5-day period. Here's where we begin. Let's move forward here. Notice the western U.S., by the way, is above normal. So while the east is largely below normal temperature-wise, the west is the opposite. Basically very warm and dry out in the western U.S. Let's move forward here. Now this is up to days 3 to 7. We're looking at April 30th to May 5th here. Again, this is the ensemble run of the 0Z GFS. Let's keep moving forward here. Days 4 to 8, 5 to 9, 6 to 10. If anything, it gets more and more impressively colder than normal for this time of the year. By this time, days 7 to 11, we're into the month of May, May 4th to May 9th. Let's go out even farther. Look at this. This is quite sustained, quite impressive. Now we're talking about May 6th to May 11th. This particular model goes all the way out to days 12 to 16. No end in sight, really, for the colder than normal conditions in the Midwest, the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic region. This is as far out as this model can see. May 9th to May 14th, all the way to about the middle part of the month of May, a continuation of cold air outbreaks from Canada into the central and eastern U.S. And as I pointed out yesterday, the pattern that brings these cold air masses north to south from Canada into the central and eastern U.S. also keeps it quite active across the nation, especially the eastern two-thirds of the nation, with multiple waves of energy aloft. One of those will contribute to this potential significant rain event on Thursday here in the eastern U.S. Well, before we talk about the details, the factors involved for this potential significant rain event, let's just kind of take a quick snapshot of the potential here. This is from the 0Z European model run as shown here by Pivotal Weather, and this is the potential for this upcoming event. This is the total rainfall amount by Friday. Look at these values here, all the way up past 3 inches in some spots from this upcoming rain event. Again, it's late Wednesday night, especially focused on the day Thursday into Thursday evening. Potential exists for 2+ inches, maybe even 3+ inches of rain in some spots. Now this is probably the wettest of the models, the GFS Canadian model, have some significant rainfall, not quite as much as European model, so we'll see how all that changes over the next 24 to 48 hours or so. But this is showing the potential for this system. Well, there's multiple factors that, again, can contribute to a significant rain event. First of all, vigorous wave of energy in the upper part of the atmosphere. We'll take a look at that now. Then we'll also take a look at a very long fetch of almost tropical air that will feed in from south to north along the Atlantic seaboard by late Wednesday night and especially during the day on Thursday. That'll make the atmosphere juicy as a slow-moving frontal system grinds its way to the eastern seaboard, squeeze out a lot of that moisture in the atmosphere in the form of heavy rain. Let's just take a look now at the vorticity maxima here aloft. We're looking at the 500 millibar level as we begin the day here on Tuesday. And I mentioned a moment ago, the cold air mass is dropping from Canada into the central U.S. Well, so are some waves of energy. Now here's that next one diving into the middle of the country by tomorrow morning, situated right here across the Mississippi Valley region. And watch what happens. It continues to dive, becomes a very impressive upper level low pressure system, and then it kind of takes on a negatively tilted trough axis. We've talked about this numerous times before, where you have kind of a low pressure area in this region and then a trough axis. It kind of starts swinging more of a northwest to southeast fashion. That promotes a lot of upward motion on its eastern flank. Right in this region right here, there'll be strong upward motion as this wave of energy aloft becomes more and more negatively tilted. Let's now proceed here, and here we are now into the afternoon on Thursday. Again, kind of a negatively tilted trough axis, and look at the flow of air along the eastern seaboard. Not only will it be like this in the lower part of the atmosphere, but also way up in the middle part of the atmosphere, 500 millibar level, basically south to north flow here, and that is pushing some very humid air right up along the Atlantic seaboard that will tend to be squeezed out by this vigorous energy aloft, the slow-moving frontal system. So here we are now, Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening. Certainly some signs here of a negatively tilted trough axis that originates at the upper level low and then scoots off to the south and east of there, again promoting significant upward motion on its eastern side, in this case over the mid-Atlantic region. Here we are Thursday night, and this is kind of a slow-moving system, and here we are all the way into the day on Friday. It remains unsettled on Friday, maybe some shower activity lingering into the day on Friday. The good news is this may kick on out of here, and we could set up for a pretty decent weekend, especially on Saturday in the mid-Atlantic region. It could be mainly sunny, milder, well up in the 60s, and some of that could hold on during the day on Sunday. Partly sunny skies perhaps on Sunday in D.C., Philly, New York City, but more showers could come with the next system Sunday night into Monday. Well, that was factor number one, the vigorous wave of energy aloft, the fact that it can go negatively tilted during the day on Thursday. Now let's take a look at another factor here called the precipitable water. This is really what we're looking at, is a total precipitable water anomaly as compared to normal here for the upcoming event, where green represents moisture and drier air is represented here by the browns. Now look at this. This is the forecast map from the 0Z GFS for Thursday morning. Look at this fetch of air coming right up along the Atlantic seaboard here, starting off with the Gulf of Mexico, the southwestern part of the Atlantic, kind of combination of tropical air from both the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean, riding up right along the Atlantic seaboard. That low pressure area centered over the Great Lakes region. Let's go back in time a little bit and watch this develop here. Here we are now, tomorrow morning, starting to see some moisture influx into the system, and then we get all the way into the day on Thursday. Look at this, riding right up along the Atlantic seaboard. Again, winds screaming at many levels of the atmosphere from the south to the north along the east coast, and here into the day on Thursday. Now Thursday afternoon, still a lot of tropical moisture flooding into the mid-Atlantic and the northeast U.S. Again, increasingly concerned about some flash flooding possibilities with this event, focused on Thursday afternoon into Thursday evening. Finally, we get out by Thursday evening, and the worst of the influx of moisture may be just off to the north and east of the mid-Atlantic region, but still heavy rainfall potential here for the northeast U.S. when we get into the Thursday night time frame. Well, let's wrap up with the surface forecast maps from the Zero-Z GFS model run. A mix of clouds and sun today. Cannot rule out a shower or two. A kind of a weak system coming our way. It tends to fall apart north of the Mason-Dixon line, but a better chance maybe of a shower or two in the D.C. metro region later on today into tonight. It's not the big system to watch for, though. We have the development here on Wednesday of a fetch of air, again, riding from the south to the north in the eastern U.S. out ahead of this frontal system that will trail this low pressure area over the Great Lakes by tomorrow afternoon. And this front right in here at this particular time will only inch its way to the eastern seaboard. And here we go. By late tomorrow night, start to see some heavy rainfall developing in the interior sections of the Mid-Atlantic region over the Ohio Valley. And look at the isobar pattern here right along the eastern seaboard. Again, winds tend to flow parallel to these lines of equal pressure known as isobars that are represented here by these black lines. In other words, the winds will be out of the south, pushing tropical, very moist air to the north, right along the Atlantic seaboard. To the west will be that slow-moving frontal system. And here we go by Thursday morning. This is when the real heavy rain event could take place in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. Again, the GFS a little bit less bullish on the rain right now compared to the European model, but I sense that this will become a little bit more, a little bit wetter, closer to the European model during the next 24 hours or so. And here we go by Thursday afternoon. Indeed, even the GFS has some heavy rainfall over the Delmarva Peninsula into eastern Pennsylvania and certainly down along the eastern parts of Virginia and North Carolina. That slow moving frontal system will stick around the East Coast even as late as Thursday night, again with the possibility of heavy rainfall then sliding up into New England. And here we go with that upper level low still sitting on top of us on Friday. Still an unsettled weather pattern. Maybe a few showers, nothing heavy like what I expect to see on Thursday. Nonetheless, still unsettled on Friday. Again, the good news is here we go by Saturday morning. We could luck out and actually have a nice break in the action for Saturday, maybe even most of Sunday as well in the Mid-Atlantic region with some sunshine, maybe plenty of sunshine on Saturday and milder conditions as high pressure takes over. Clouds may increase on Sunday, maybe another batch of showers coming our way for Sunday night and Monday. But again, the good news here is after the possible significant rain event on Thursday, could start off the weekend with pretty decent weather on Saturday in places like D.C., Philadelphia, and New York City. So a lot going on. Still have cold air outbreaks dropping into the central and eastern U.S. from Canada all the way into the middle of the month of May. That's it for now. For PerspectiveWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.